Dear brothers and sisters, I'm still a bit ill, and for this I've asked Monsignor Ciampanelli to read today's catechesis. Thank you. So this is an official from the Vatican Secretariat of State and an assistant of Pope Francis who will now read out his catechesis for him.
Cari fratelli e sorelle,
dear brothers and sisters, today we examine two deadly vices that we find in the great lists that the spiritual tradition has left us: envy and vainglory. Let us start with envy. If we read Holy Scripture, it appears to us as one of the oldest vices. Cain's hatred of Abel is unleashed when he realizes that his brother's sacrifices are pleasing to God. Cain was the firstborn of Adam and Eve. He had taken the largest share of his father's inheritance. Yet it is enough for Abel, the younger brother, to succeed in a small feat, for Cain to then become enraged. The face of the envious person is always sad. They're always looking down. They seem to be continually investigating the ground. But in reality, they see nothing because their mind is wrapped up in thoughts full of wickedness. Envy, if left unchecked, leads to hatred of the other. Abel goes on to be killed at the hands of Cain, who could not bear his brother's happiness. Envy is an evil that has not only been investigated in the Christian sphere, it has attracted the attention of philosophers and the wise of every culture. At its basis is a relationship of hate and love. One desires the evil for the other, but secretly desires to be like them. The other is the epiphany of what we would like to be and what we actually are not. Their good fortune seems to us to be an injustice. Surely, we think to ourselves, we would have deserved his successes or good fortune much more. At the root of this vice is a false idea of God. We do not accept that God has his own mathematics, different from ours. For example, in Jesus' parable about the workers called by the master to go into the vineyard at different times of the day, those in the first hour believe that they are entitled to a higher wage than those who arrived last. But the master gives everyone the same pay and says, "Am I not allowed to do what I choose with what belongs to me? Or do you begrudge my generosity?" That's Matthew chapter 20, verse 15. We would like to impose our own selfish logic on God. Instead, the logic of God is love. The good things he gives us are meant to be shared. This is why St. Paul exhorts Christians: love one another with brotherly affection. Outdo one another in showing honor. That's Romans chapter 12, verse 10. Here is the remedy for envy. And now we come to the second vice we examine today, vainglory. It goes hand in hand with the demon of envy, and together these two vices are characteristic of a person who aspires to be the center of the world, free to exploit everything and everyone, the object of all praise and love. Vainglory is an inflated and baseless self-esteem. The vainglorious person possesses an unwieldy ego. They have no empathy and take no notice of the fact that there are other people in the world besides them. Their relationships are always instrumental, marked by the domination of the other. Their person, their accomplishments, their achievements must be shown to everyone. They perpetually beg for attention. And if at times their qualities are not recognized, then they become fiercely angry. Others are unfair. They do not understand. They are not up to it. In his writings, Evagrius Ponticus describes the bitter affair of a certain monk struck by vainglory. It happened that, after his first successes in the spiritual life, he already felt that he had been successful, so he rushed into the world to receive its praise. But he did not realize that he was only at the beginning of the spiritual path, and that a temptation was lurking that would soon bring him down. To heal the vainglorious, the spiritual teachers do not suggest many remedies, for, in the end, the evil of vanity has its remedy within itself. The praise that the vainglorious hope to reap from the world will soon turn against them. And how many people, deluded by a false self-image, have then fallen into sins of which they would soon be ashamed. The most beautiful instruction for overcoming vainglory can be found in the testimony of St. Paul. The apostle always reckoned with a defect that he could never overcome. 3 times he asked the Lord to deliver him from that torment. But finally, Jesus answered him, "My grace is sufficient for you, for strength is fully manifested in weakness." From that day, Paul was set free, and his conclusion should also become ours. I will therefore gladly boast of my weaknesses, that the power of Christ may dwell in me.